You're living an ordinary day. The smell of fresh bread fills the streets. Children are laughing. Merchants are calling customers into their shops. People are arguing over prices in the marketplace. Some are preparing for weddings. Others are planning their future. No one knows that within the next 24 hours, everything they have ever loved will disappear forever. An entire city, frozen in time, not because people wanted to remember it, but because nature refused to let it be forgotten. This isn't just the story of Pompeii. It's the story of ordinary people. People just like us, who woke up expecting tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. And centuries later, one man walked through those silent streets, trying to hear voices that had been buried for almost 2,000 years. That man was Tom Hiddleston. And what he discovered changed the way he looked at history forever. #the beginning of an obsession. Every great journey starts with curiosity. For Tom Hiddleston, it began when he was just a child. Like millions of children, he became fascinated with ancient myths. The stories of Greek heroes. The Minotaur. Theseus. Gods who ruled the heavens. Warriors whose names survived thousands of years. At first, they were simply exciting stories. But slowly, those stories became questions. Who were these people? How did they live? What did their world actually look like? Those questions stayed with him. Then school introduced him to something unexpected. Latin. At first, it seemed like just another language. Difficult. Old. Completely useless. Or so most people thought. But Tom saw something different. The more he learned, the more he realized. Latin wasn't dead. It was alive everywhere. French suddenly made sense. Spanish became easier. Even English revealed hidden connections. Every new word became another piece of a giant puzzle stretching back through history. Languages weren't just words anymore. They were time machines. Every sentence connected him with people who had lived thousands of years earlier. And without realizing it, history stopped feeling old. It started feeling alive. Content reference, oasite. 0. The index equals 0. #a journey that changed everything. The summer of 1998. Tom was only 17 years old. The World Cup was filling Europe with excitement. Most teenagers would have spent the summer watching football or relaxing with friends. Instead, Tom and two classmates bought an Interrail ticket. No parents. No teachers. No smartphones. Just backpacks, maps, and a shared passion for the ancient world. Their destination? Italy. Rome. Naples. Places they had only read about in books. At first, it felt like an ordinary holiday, until someone mentioned a nearby place, Pompeii. None of them knew that this single decision would stay with Tom for the rest of his life. Sometimes, the smallest choices change everything. You take one train, turn one corner, visit one forgotten place, and your entire view of the world changes forever. Content reference, oasite. 1. Index equals 1. #. Walking into the past. Nothing could prepare him for what happened next. As Tom entered Pompeii, he felt something impossible. It wasn't like visiting a museum. It wasn't like looking at old ruins. It felt as if time had stopped. The streets were still there. The houses still stood. The walls still carried paintings. Doorways still waited for families who would never return. For a brief moment, the distance between the present and the past disappeared. It was as though someone had folded 2,000 years into a single step. Every stone whispered a story. Every building held memories. Every street seemed to ask one question. Can you imagine what happened here? Most ancient cities survive only as broken fragments. A wall. A column. A statue. But Pompeii is different. It isn't simply ancient. It is preserved. Almost perfectly. As though someone pressed the pause button on history itself. And that's exactly what happened. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, ash buried the city so quickly that countless everyday moments were sealed forever. Not just temples, not just government buildings, but ordinary life. The bakery, the marketplace, homes, bedrooms, gardens. Everything remained exactly where people left it, waiting for centuries, until the modern world finally uncovered it again. Content reference, oversight. 2, index equals 2, hashtag the most powerful discovery. Most people think history is about kings, generals, battles, empires. But Pompeii tells a completely different story. Here, history belongs to ordinary people. People who woke up early to bake bread, parents raising children, business owners opening shops, teenagers dreaming about tomorrow. The archaeological discoveries are astonishing. Loaves of bread still sitting inside ovens, children's cradles, paintings untouched by time, household tools, even messages written on walls. Imagine finding someone's handwritten note. After 2,000 years, it suddenly becomes impossible to think of these people as strangers. They laughed. They worried. They loved. They argued. They hoped. Exactly like we do today. The only difference is that we know how their story ends. They didn't. That realization changes everything. History is no longer about dates. It's about people. Content reference, oversight. 3. Index equals 3. Hashtag closer than we think. Standing in Pompeii, Tom realized something that shocked him. These people weren't primitive. They weren't completely different from us. Much of what we call modern civilization, our laws, politics, architecture, languages, business, markets, even the way cities are organized, all trace their roots back to the Roman world. The people walking these streets weren't living in some strange forgotten civilization. They were helping build the foundations of our own. That's why Pompeii feels so emotional. It is incredibly distant, yet strangely familiar. You look around, and instead of seeing ruins, you begin seeing reflections of ourselves. The past isn't behind us. It's still living inside everything we do. And perhaps that's why walking through Pompeii feels less like visiting history, and more like meeting forgotten relatives. People separated from us only by time. Content reference, oversight. 4. Index equals 4. Hashtag a mystery waiting to be solved, but one question refused to leave Tom's mind. If the eruption happened suddenly, what did people actually do? Did they run? Did they stay? Did they try to save their families? Who escaped? Who didn't? And why? History books often tell us the ending. They rarely tell us the final 24 hours. Those missing hours became an obsession. Because somewhere inside those silent streets, hidden beneath layers of ash, were the last decisions ordinary people ever made. Decisions made without knowing history was watching. In the next part of this story, Tom begins investigating those final hours. Using graffiti, archaeological evidence, ancient clues, and modern technology, he reconstructs the lives of 3 real people who stood face to face with one of history's greatest disasters. And what happened next feels less like a documentary, and more like the most emotional survival story ever told. To be continued in part 2. If you'd like, I can make part 2 even more cinematic, with stronger suspense, emotional storytelling, and a Hollywood-style ending spanning about 1,250 to 1,500 words. Imagine waking up to what feels like an ordinary summer morning. The streets are already busy. Bakers are preparing fresh bread. Children are playing outside their homes. Merchants are arranging goods for another profitable day. No one realizes this will be the last normal morning they will ever experience. Around midday, everything changes. A deafening explosion tears through the sky. People stop walking. They look toward Mount Vesuvius. A massive cloud begins rising higher and higher, until it blocks out the sun. At first, many people don't panic. Some believe it's just another earthquake. Others think it will pass. After all, they had lived with small tremors for years. No one truly understood they were living beside one of the most dangerous volcanoes on Earth. But this wasn't just another earthquake. This was the beginning of one of history's greatest disasters. A race against time. Most people imagine Pompeii disappeared instantly. But that's not what really happened. The eruption didn't destroy the city in seconds. It gave people something even more terrifying. Time. Nearly an entire day. 24 long hours. 24 hours filled with impossible choices. Should you stay inside your home? Should you run? Should you wait for your family? Should you help your neighbors? Or should you save yourself? Every decision suddenly became a matter of life and death. And no one knew which choice was the right one. That's what fascinated Tom Hiddleston the most. He wasn't interested only in how the city died. He wanted to know how its people lived during those final hours. Because history isn't just about disasters. It's about the decisions ordinary people make when disaster arrives. 3 lives. 1 fate. Instead of telling the story of an entire city, Tom chose to follow 3 real people. 3 completely different lives. 3 completely different decisions. The first. A teenage boy. Almost the same age Tom was when he first visited Pompeii. Archaeologists discovered graffiti bearing his name outside the city after the eruption. That tiny clue suggested something incredible. He might have escaped. But escaping wasn't simple. Did he leave immediately? Or did he turn back to find his mother? Would you leave your family behind if it meant saving yourself? That's the question this young boy may have faced. The second person was Julia Felix, a wealthy businesswoman. She owned one of Pompeii's largest estates. Her property included luxurious baths, gardens, and guest rooms. She wasn't just rich. She was responsible for countless people. Workers, guests, families. When disaster struck, did she protect her fortune, or the people depending on her? Then there was the third figure, an elite Roman soldier, highly trained, disciplined, prepared for war. But no military training can prepare someone for a volcano. Would he abandon his duty, or become the leader desperate civilians needed? 3 strangers, 3 stories, 1 terrifying day that would bind them forever. The city begins to collapse. Hour after hour. Ash continues falling. At first, it's only dust. Then small stones. Then larger rocks begin crashing through rooftops. The streets disappear beneath thick layers of volcanic debris. People wrap cloth around their faces. Parents carry frightened children. Some desperately load carts with valuables. Others leave everything behind. The city becomes darker. Breathing becomes harder. Everywhere, there is fear. Yet something remarkable also happens. People don't immediately think of themselves. Many turn back. Not for gold. Not for possessions. But for family. For children. For parents. For loved ones trapped inside collapsing homes. Even in the face of death, humanity refuses to disappear. That may be Pompeii's greatest lesson. Courage doesn't always look like fighting. Sometimes, it looks like going back for someone you love. The final moment. Then came the moment no one could escape. The pyroclastic flow. An avalanche of burning gas. Ash. Rock. And unimaginable heat. Moving faster than a racing car. Everything in its path vanished. There was nowhere to hide. No time to think. No second chance. Within moments, the city that had laughed, traded, celebrated, and dreamed, was silent. Pompeii disappeared beneath layers of volcanic ash. Not for years. Not for decades. But for nearly 18 centuries. The world forgot it existed. Nature sealed every street, every home, every memory beneath a blanket of ash. It was as if time itself had locked the city away. A city that refused to die. Centuries passed. Empires rose and fell. Kings came and went. Wars changed the world. But beneath the ground, Pompeii waited, patiently, until archaeologists uncovered it once again. And what they found shocked humanity. Walls still covered with colorful paintings. Bread still inside ovens. Household furniture. Children's toys. Graffiti scratched into walls. Every discovery whispered the same message. We were here. For the first time, history wasn't being told through kings or emperors. It was being told through ordinary people. People whose names would have disappeared forever, had a volcano not preserved their lives. Ironically, the same disaster that destroyed Pompeii also made it immortal. Tom's most emotional experience. While filming the documentary, Tom received rare permission to enter Pompeii after dark. The archaeological park had closed. The streets were empty. Only a small camera crew remained. As night fell, something unexpected happened. They got lost, standing among silent ruins, with Mount Vesuvius visible under the moonlight. Tom suddenly imagined the teenage boy making his final journey through these exact streets, searching for home, searching for family, searching for hope. The darkness felt real. The silence felt alive. Then came one unforgettable cinematic moment. In the documentary, the teenage boy struggles through clouds of ash. Behind him, a mysterious light appears. At first it seems impossible. Then the audience realizes, the light isn't from ancient Rome. It's Tom's mobile phone, the modern world reaching into the past. A beautiful symbol of what the entire documentary represents. Not changing history, but illuminating it. Helping forgotten voices be heard once again. Why Pompeii still matters today. People often think history is about memorizing dates. Pompeii proves otherwise. History is emotion. History is choice. History is family. The people of Pompeii laughed exactly as we laugh. They worried about tomorrow exactly as we do. They built dreams, made plans, loved their children, argued with friends, worked hard, believed they had plenty of time left. And that's why their story feels so heartbreaking. Because they were never expecting history to remember them. Yet today, nearly 2,000 years later, millions of people walk through their homes, read their messages, and remember their lives, not because they were famous, but because they were human. Final message. Pompeii isn't simply a city buried beneath ash. It's a reminder that life can change without warning. It reminds us that tomorrow is never guaranteed, that family matters more than possessions, that courage is often found in ordinary people. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all, we are not separated from the people of Pompeii by who we are, only by time, because if we had lived there, on that ordinary summer morning, we would have baked bread, made plans, loved our families, and believed tomorrow would come, just like they did. History